Recording in progress.
Welcome to Planning Commission tonight. It's October 8th, Payson City Planning Commission. We have 6 commissioners present. Commissioner Becker is absent at this time, so we'll go ahead and get started. That's enough for a quorum. It's my turn to give a prayer, so I'll do that. Our Father in heaven, we're thankful for the opportunity we have to be here this evening. We're thankful, Father, for all of our many blessings, for the opportunity we have to be planning commissioners and serve the city of Payson and the residents of Payson. We ask that thou will bless us this evening, that we'll make good decisions, that we'll listen with a mind that has Payson and the residents' best interests at heart, that we'll do those things that are pleasing unto thee and will be acceptable to those around us. Bless us with these things, and we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Okay, item 3 is the consent agenda, minutes from our September 24th meeting. Did everybody have a chance to go over those? Any issues or comments? I need a motion then.
I make a motion to approve the minutes from September 24th.
Thank you, Commissioner Brincroft.
I'll second that.
And we have Commissioner Haymouli, a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Can we do it by aye, Kim, or do we need to do roll call? Okay. All in favor by aye?
Aye.
Any opposed by nay? Okay. That passes. Public forum. This is a chance for the public to speak to us. And I think all we have is applicants and staff. Does anybody of those want to speak before that's something that's not on the agenda? Doesn't look like it. So we'll move on to the review items. This is a public hearing, the general plan amendments for the South Meadows Area Specific Plan. And it's a request by Tyler Horan on behalf of White Horse Land for an amendment to the South Meadows Area Specific Plan, which is an extension of the Payson City General Plan. The amendment seeks to add density to the most western portion of the land use plan of the South Meadows area. And we'll turn the time over to, I assume, Michael. So, is that correct? Okay. Is your computer not working? There we go.
Really touchy Okay, so as was stated, this is a general plan zone. Zone change should be stricken. This is going to be tabled for, but it's related to this. And I thought that was changed on this. Anyway, so it's a general plan.
Change on here, just density.
Yeah, on the presentation it says general plan and zone change, but it's just a general plan for the South Meadows specific area plan. So the applicant at this time is seeking 2 approvals. One of them will be at a later meeting. That's the zone change. So at this meeting, they're seeking a recommendation from the Planning Commission for the general plan amendment. After this, it would go to City Council to make a final decision on this item. So to familiarize you a little bit, I've got a map of the area, and it's just going to zoom in for you to give you a general idea of where we're talking about. So that area that's outlined in the dashed red line is the western portion of the South Meadows plan. And that's the area that would be affected with this general plan amendment. So the question is, what creates property value? We determine that it's desirability plus accessibility. And so we want to talk to you a little bit about those 2 things today. But we're going to go about it somewhat roundabout. So first of all, desirability. These are a handful of things that go into what makes property desirable. Going with accessibility. This is our accessibility salad. Those are various things that go into what makes property accessible. Now, it's not an exhaustive list, but it gives you a general idea. This is the area as it stands now with, you can see some of the bubbled areas that have had some amendments in the past. So this is the South Meadows map in the plan as it exists now. So the applicant's requesting some density changes to various portions of this western side. And so I've got that to show you here. The first is in the very bottom corner. It's going from 2 dwelling units to the acre to 4. Again, in the bottom in the orange, going from 2 dwelling units to 8. In the middle there, in the yellow, going from 3 dwelling units to 4. Down below that in orange, 3 dwelling units to 8. And then to the eastern portion of the yellow in kind of that tannish color, going from 4 dwelling units to 4. So no change there. Just below that in those panhandled shaped ones in orange, 4 dwelling units to 8. The topmost section in brown going from 6 dwelling units to 15. And then those ones there going from 10 dwelling units to 15. And that is the, let me go back to that. So that's the total ask in the plan amendment as was proposed to staff. Any questions on any of those or those sections before we move on? Okay. I'm not sure why that's there. Oh, okay. So this is just, I was waiting for it to load the arrow. So all of the applicants' requests are in that red area. This is the area that would be impacted, and it's probably a bit of a glare for you on there. So if you can see them on your screens, it's probably a little better. But this is the entirety of the South Meadows planning area. So everywhere bordered in black on there, including the area bordered in red, is the South Meadows plan, and that's the 949.57 acres. And so if the plan is unchanged, the total housing units anticipated for this entire area is 3,545 with an estimated population of 11,698. The White Horse land, which is what the applicant owns on the western portion, is a total of 125.99 acres, which would be 519 entitled units if they proceeded with the plan as is, for that approximate 1,716 additional residents there. If the plan is amended, then the bottom in the darker green is what is potentially possible. So for the total, the housing units would be 4,494 with an estimated population of 14,840. And then the White Horse properties would be an increase to 943 housing units for an estimate of 3,116. Any
So-
questions on that?
All the additional units would be inside that red boundary. Because
Inside of that red boundary.
we're
yes.
talking 1,000 extra units inside.
Yes,
that
but
boundary.
all of the additional units would not be on White Horse land.
Right. But they'd still be confined. So we're still only talking half of the South Meadows area that we're adding an extra 1,000 units to out of that 950
Approximately
acres.
900 some units.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions on this before I continue? Okay. So going back to our word salads and whatnot, the question we discuss as planners is how is a city plan realized? So first of all, we've got the overarching developability of an area, which I don't think developability is a word, but all of my words have ability in them. So play with me for a little bit here. Developability is built upon marketability, availability, and profitability. And those three things, you notice they don't have a foundation without the following: accessibility and desirability, which we talked a little bit about in the beginning of this presentation. So continuing, the amendment to the South Meadows Plan works towards desirability, but staff have some concerns related to accessibility and desirability that need to be addressed. So staff concerns on accessibility and desirability. Accessibility is transportation. Traffic and vehicular flow is a problem now at 800 South, and that would be the primary access to the area. 1950 West is not yet a through street near the MTech campus there. So that means most of the travel goes along 1700 West until it can get to 1130 and other east-west roads. 1700 West is only a collector, but forced to carry the majority of that traffic. And then traffic is burdened on these streets by current residents in the area and will increase with MTech, the Redbridge development, and other properties that can potentially develop as is right now. So going into the desirability, we talk a little bit about parks and recreation. The city's Parks and Recreation Master Plan estimates it's actually greater than 7 acres. It's like 7.19 acres per 1,000 people is the level of service that the city has adopted in their master plan. There are no parks or public open space on the west side of Payson. And so that's something we need to start looking at and considering, and not only for this ask, but in general for the entire west side of the community. So to maintain that level of service based on the as-is plan and based on the amendment, there would be an approximate need for 82 acres as is, and if the amendment were to happen, 104 acres would be approximately needed based on the total population at build out. And then as you can see there, yes. Yes, so some of that would actually be needed south of the temple and in areas.
South and west of the temple.
Yep, correct.
East side of the freeway.
Correct. But that being said, there are some parks and open space on the east side of the freeway, whereas there are none on the west side. With the White Horse properties, it's estimated with their population increase as is that at least 12 acres of park space would be needed to keep our level of service. And then if the expansion were to happen for the added density, then it's estimated about 22 acres would be needed. Another thing with desirability that staff always wants to give some emphasis to is design and exterior facades, things like that. Whenever development occurs, we want it to be a nice, attractive communities. And so we want to make sure those sort of things happen. One thing that's not put in here, but Jill would love to mention, would be trails. And the applicant is more than willing to consider trails as part of their developments as they proceed. So I didn't necessarily put that in here, but yes, that is something that is important as part of desirability. Any questions on this?
On this, now, is it, most of this could be on the east side of the freeway or on the west side of the freeway?
Most of what?
This development where we're talking, I was
So,
looking at the thing.
so
and I was-
everything that the applicant's requesting would be on the west side of the freeway. But the entirety of this
got both
of
sides.
this plan is on both sides. And so there's probably a pretty even mix of total density on both sides, I would say.
My biggest concern is gonna be our roads over there where you've just got that frontage road over there. To get
Yes.
people in and out till we get something there, because it's gonna be a mess.
Yep. And that's staff's primary concern. So, any other questions? Okay. So the applicant's given forth some assistance and some solutions. They paid for a study on utilities, on what it would cost to upsize utilities in the area. They paid for a transportation study to further identify the traffic issues in the area. They've offered to pay for a transportation impact fee study for the city. We are discussing that in-house. I don't know where that's out yet, but I think that's something that's being considered and determined. So, correct. We don't anticipate the applicant paying for that, but I just wanted to mention that they offered that. They also offered to pay for a civil design on what it would take to widen 800 South and 1700 West, and then the design of those roads. With the ask and the zone change that they're not asking for tonight, they would donate to the city 4 acres for a public park. They also proposed that they would connect 1950 West going southbound near their southern border of the city limits. So not in the MTech area we talked about earlier. That is a responsibility of the Red Ridge development to make that connection. But they would actually continue that road and continue it south to the border of their properties there. The applicant wanted me to make sure to mention these last bullet points. They are offering quality, affordable homes for sale, and I've got a bunch of extra slides I can show you on those. They're trying to meet the desire of the council to provide single-family homes in the area. That was something that's been voiced to the applicant multiple times. And they also have tried really hard and have always met this 25-foot drive approach for driveways on the properties so that vehicles aren't overhanging onto sidewalks and whatnot. Any questions about what they are offering or what they've done thus far?
Sorry, I just want to add one thing. And I did want to point out that they, with their current phases that they're building right now on Hyatt Creek, Plat B, they self-restricted their units. They were allowed 10, I think it was 10 units to the acre. And they self-restricted to what, 6.5 or something like that?
The westernmost side was six units to the acre.
Yeah, so they themselves said, okay, we're allowed 10, we're only gonna go to 6. So just keep that in mind as we're trying to adjust some densities further down here between the freeway and train tracks. And they've already reduced where they were allowed more, they reduced units of their own will, so.
And just to add to that, that was actually a willful restriction that they put on themselves, and it was adopted and approved by city council. And so that's not just a willy-nilly statement. That's actually something that's a recorded document and approved by city. So any other questions or comments about this before we continue?
I have a question about the donating 4 acres of public park. Is there, with that 4 acres, does that meet our desirability of having that big of a park over there? Or
It will help. And this is a catch-22 situation because you can't necessarily require that from an applicant when they build, but at the same time, they can offer some and it can help ease the burdens. Applicants often are required for multifamily housing, for example, to put in amenities and things like that, but they don't necessarily dedicate land for public open space. They can, but they don't necessarily do that. And so this would contribute to that, but the city would want to buy from the applicant and or other property owners in the area more property to create a larger area to have a more either regional or community sized park in the area. Any other questions? Okay. So staff is recommending a change only to the northern portions of this because we feel as if the timeliness of the traffic and road congestion issues has not been fully addressed. And so I put the parcels on here, but I can show you a map in a moment. Another statement that we want to put in the plan is just a note on how density is determined for the plan. Our plans are not as thorough as they could be in identifying how density is determined. So we would just want to put that statement in there as a recommendation. So this is the area that this staff is recommending the change for. The part that Jonathan mentioned is that uppermost one that's the 290230047, that parcel, that one has the reduction to the 6 dwelling units to the acre right now. But anyway, this would be the area that staff would feel comfortable with a recommendation for. I don't know why that's proceeding forward. I didn't do anything on it. Staff would feel comfortable with this as an amendment at this time. That would increase these parcels to the 15 dwelling units to the acre. The ones just to the north that aren't outlined in red are owned by the applicant, and they have 10 dwelling units to the acre already approved on them. So continuing on, this is a concept layout of that area that's that we just mentioned previous. You can see the smaller map is showing that area. And this is a concept map of some housing units and a layout of what they kind of anticipate to do something in the realm of that layout. You can see most of this is attached product. The large yellow lots near the bottom there were put in because council wanted to have a buffer that would reduce down to single family homes as it moved southward. And so you can see there's a mix of housing types that they've proposed in this northern portion. Then in the south, the applicant is requesting something of a nature here. And I know that it's probably hard to read this slide because the text gets a little bit small, but some of this property is not in the city yet. But as you can see from that smaller map, it's part of the South Meadows plan. And so this is the concept layout that they are proposing in that area. Any questions on either of these layouts or anything?
So all the parcels that staff is recommending, those were all in the plan, those are 10 units to an acre currently, or were there any that were not 10 units to the acre and the ones that staff is talking about allowing to go to 15?
I think most of those are actually, you're talking these.
So based on the
parcels?
current plan, are they 10 units to an acre on those parcels, or is there some that are lower, like 6 units to acre?
The only one that's 6 that I know of is that northwesternmost.
And the rest of them are,
I think the other
in the
ones
plan
are
at 10.
already 10
Okay.
with what the plan shows. Yes.
thank you.
And so these are some of the housing products that the applicant is sharing with us. And I'll just kind of scroll through these fairly quickly. And if you want me to stop, then we can go back to them. So you can see a variety of styles, products, design. some townhome product. So I will leave it here at the moment, and um, I'll let the applicant come up and talk to you if they have any feedback or comments they want to share with you. If you have any questions for me, or if you have any questions for them, we'll leave it at that point, and then we can potentially talk about these bullet points or any other part of the presentation or what's in your staff report. So any questions for me before I sit down?
Not right now.
Okay.
Okay, well, I'm sure you guys have some questions. I'd maybe just
Introduce yourself, so
yeah,
for
yeah,
the record.
Tyler Horan with White Horse
Okay.
Land. So to give a little context, I recognize a lot of you, but not all of you. So so my family, I guess what I'm going to try to do is explain a little bit about who we are and what we're trying to do here, and then answer like any detailed questions. But so one thing I guess that probably makes us a little bit unique as landowners and developers is that we've already bought this property. So, this isn't a situation where, we like have it under contract and we're looking to get, the most density we can to, you know, close on it and sell it to somebody else. I think that situation happens a lot, but we're in, I think a little bit of a different position where one, we've already bought the ground, and two, our plan is not to, sell this land off after we get, approval. We actually own the home building company that, will build these homes as well. So I guess like to me, why that matters is, we really plan on being in Payson for 10 to 15 years. We think it'll take quite a few years to build and sell everything in this area, like upwards of 10 years. And then we've also bought a large chunk of ground on the west side of, like kind of over by West Mountain. And we'd like to build houses there as well eventually. So it's important to us that we, I don't know, I guess develop like a working relationship with the city. And so, I guess I feel like that matters a little bit. So, um, but I would just say on this, we are asking for an increase in density, which does have an impact on the city, and we realize that. And we've been working with staff for quite a while to try to see what things we could do to help, kind of offset that ask that we're presenting to you guys. Um, I can answer whatever questions you have. We feel like, this is kind of our best attempt at, asking for something, but offering the city, some practical solutions. So I guess that's just my general remarks, but whatever questions you guys have, we're here all night. So
Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Haran right now?
So where's most of your high density gonna be at? Is it gonna be on the north end, or where are you looking, towards the school?
yeah, is there a map or something?
I seen your 4 stories, that's why I was asking, that's on that.
Yeah. Is there one that would show like the air, like maybe the whole South Meadows area plan? We could see the. Oh yeah, that probably works. Is there? Oh wait.
Good luck. That was all being jumpy for me.
Yeah, that's.
Maybe you have better touch.
Yeah, I'm not an IT wizard by any means, but if you can see where my mouse is right now,
Mm-hmm.
actually this blue part right here, this is where
That's-
they've just built MTech. Oh wow, it is jumpy. So that blue section up top is where they built that new building. The ground where we're asking for the higher density, the 10, 15 units per acre is immediately south of Red Bridge.
Right there by the parking area.
The blue area below the MTech, that's where the St. Tina Church is.
Yeah.
Yes,
Just
in
west
that
of there.
vicinity right there.
Yeah, just west of the Orthodox Church. Right there.
and then you'll phase it down to single family towards the south. Is that what the plan is?
Yeah. If you see where the red arrow is pointing, there's yellow right there, but then in the middle of the yellow, there's the kind of tan color.
Mm-hmm.
That's all property that we own, and that's where we're requesting 8 units per acre. And what 8 units per acre can look like, and what we're proposing is quite a few small single family lots. So basically, what that would look like is um, 4,000, I think, is the smallest, 4 to 5,000, up to 7, 8,000 square foot lots. So people would actually, have a yard and have their own house, and they would all be detached. We do also have some townhomes that we've laid out down in that area that kind of mix in with the single family. So a lot of times you'll see, just a whole bunch of townhomes and then a whole bunch of single family. We feel like it's kind of nice to have a community where they're mixed. So everything that's yellow on this concept plan is a single family home with its own yard. And then the kind of brown colored units are townhomes. And you can see, like, normally with townhome developments, you have all the open space around them. So that's kind of what we tried to do here.
So one of my questions would be is what benefit does this increased density have to future residents of the area? And what benefit does the increased density bring to Payson City by allowing additional density in the area?
Yeah. I guess so for the current residents, that's your question?
For the future residents, so the people that are going to be living here, how does having increased density benefit the people that be living in this development?
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a great question. And I actually forgot to mention that. So that, I think a lot of times people think that the only reason that we would ever ask for more density is to make more money. And it's true. Sometimes we might make more money. It honestly depends on how much we have to do to get more density. The main reason that we are actually trying to do this right now is everybody's heard about the affordability thing to death, but basically we figure if we were to build down here as the current plan sits, some of these are 2 units per acre. Well, one, you'd have a lot less homes, which would be better on the traffic, but the price of those homes would be pretty high. I won't speculate as to what it would be, but we think if we're able to build these smaller lots, we could sell them for around $500,000. So to answer your question, I think what it would allow is more people to afford homes in Payson. I think that's really the biggest benefit, to be honest with you, is just that people could actually buy them and live here.
And what benefit to the city does it have? I mean, I guess you could kind of say that allowing more people in, but is there any additional benefit to the city by allowing the increased density?
Yeah, I think a couple of things on that. One is the 4 acres of the 4 acres that we would dedicate, specifically for a city park. I would explain a little bit more on that. Like, that's just ground that we could build houses on that we would just be giving to the city. We're also required to build quite a bit of private parks and open space already with our like townhome development. So there is going to be quite a bit of acreage of, private parks and open space. And then through this whole area, there's a creek that runs through the area. That whole area, we, anticipate, we haven't totally decided yet. I think the city wants us to keep it and maintain it, but that whole area should be open space with a trail running through it. So I think, things like that. So parks and open space, new trails in this area that don't exist. I don't know if you've driven through this area, but it's like all areas in the county. There's the county road that's very small and not really great for walking or biking. So those are some of the things that we would be bringing. One other thing that I would maybe just explain a little bit more is impact fees. I don't know, you guys are probably familiar with how impact fees work, but we're trying to work with the city right now to add a transportation impact fee in Payson City. Payson's actually, of all the cities in Utah County, there's only 3 that don't have one right now. Payson's one. If we can, and we're willing to help however we can to get that set up, that should start, that should help the city start gathering quite a bit of money to be able to pay for different system improvements that need to be done in your city. So um, it's kind of a roundabout way of explaining a benefit to the city, but I really do see it as a benefit because the city will start collecting that money and you can use it to fix the problems that come with development. That's kind of the whole point of the impact fees is. So I did a little bit of math, and if we were to get our projects approved and this impact fee were to be adopted, I don't remember the numbers, but let me just look at them real quick. We would pay the city of Payson about $2.9 million just in traffic impact fees, and that's just for the land that we already own. That's if the fee that gets adopted is the average of all the cities in Utah County. That's the amount of money that we would be given to the city that, the city has plans on how to use that money and what roads to fix. And so that is another, I would call it a benefit to the city. You could also say that, well, it's just offsetting the new development, which at a minimum, it's meant to keep it so that we're not causing more problems than we're helping solve. So.
Anybody else have questions? I have one if you don't. So what is the reason that the city should fund infrastructure for you to make money? I mean, if we have to build roads, even with the impact fees, why should we do that and not the developer do that to get to your land?
Is there like a specific infrastructure that you're thinking about? Or?
Mostly transportation in this area, getting there physically.
I don't know of any projects that would need to be done right away, and maybe you guys know of some that.
Well, for example, most of the access to this area is going to be 1750 and 800. Neither one of those are adequate right now for even 2 more cars.
Yeah, so one of the things that's going to help too is by adding the transportation impact fees, so they're going to build all their roads through their development, right?
In the development, I'm
development,
talking
right?
off-site. I'm
Yeah,
talking
so,
off-site.
and that's where the impact fees do come in, where they're paying the impact fee for us to improve our existing system, that they don't have responsibility.
I don't disagree with that. My question is, why should the city fund so the developer can get bodies there? Why should the city not say, this is your responsibility. We'll gladly reimburse you as others come on, but why should the city fund any of that to get a developer there? That's a question I'm asking.
Well, I mean, whether Whitehorse builds or not, it's an existing problem, right? I mean,
It is, and I don't disagree with that. I'm just asking why should the city spend our resources to help a developer?
but
Now,
it's not
if-
it's not necessarily helping the developer. I mean, it's helping the city as a whole. We can't do anything about 800 South, right? It's a UDOT road until they double the size of the bridge. The off ramp, the interchange is not going to be better.
No.
But
I
once you
disagree with
get
that.
past the 7-Eleven, it is our road. And with impact fees, we can use that to improve our existing network that technically they could get their people there without us improving that intersection. But we're limited to what we can do because we don't have a revenue source to put back into those roads and the network that is already at failure. And so it's our responsibility as a city to provide access to the city for its existing residents and future residents. And so where Whitehorse is coming in and they're going to build their development, um, their responsibility is not to improve all the offsite roads that need to be improved just to get to their development. That's our responsibility to make sure that our road network is sufficient. And so that's all Tyler's saying is by instituting the transportation impact fee, they are going to then be contributing, $2.8 million that we can go and use to fix problems that we already have, whether they build or not.
Mhm.
And that is our responsibility.
I got to admit, that is a hard. I don't.
It's a very valid question.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I'm not. I'm not trying to avoid the question. I just don't even know how to answer that. And I don't know that you should. But one thing that I will say is, uh, we did a traffic study for this whole area.
Right.
It identified.
I didn't see that in our notes, so there was no way to see what that showed.
Yeah, we did, and it basically told us what you guys already know because you live here. That
It's
intersection is the problem.
it's a problem. That whole area is a problem.
Yeah. And I'm glad we're talking about this. I wouldn't have been able to kind of bring it up or explain it very well if you hadn't asked, but like I said, we're going to be here for a long time. We're already building and starting to sell units. So it's not like we're not adverse in this. Like we care about the traffic there.
And I'm not trying to be adverse either. I'm just asking the question.
Yeah. So my proposed path forward and is really, I think the start here is the civil design that we're offering to do. I think that really is the first step that needs to be done. I know it's not the same as building the whole intersection out, but to be honest, I just don't see that as well. One, I don't know what needs to get done, how to fix it. So I don't know how big of a problem we're talking about, but I will say I've met with Chief Bishop for an hour to understand, his perspective on the traffic problems.
He's the lone holdout on the recommendation.
Yeah, he was he was compelling. Everything he said, I couldn't, he makes really good points. Our proposal is to pay for the civil design for that intersection. It sounds like a small thing. In my mind, it's actually not a small thing. It really is probably the first step in the solution. And I've met with our consultant enough to know, I think what we would do if we get this approved and how we would approach this is a phased solution. So in other words, what I've been told is the problem from both the engineer and the police chief is essentially when you get off 8 South and you head west and you go to turn left, that's going to be the biggest problem because this entire area is going to get off the freeway and turn left. And eventually it's going to back up over 8 South, and it already is backing up. That's the problem. And then the other problem is if you're going north on 1700 and you get to that 4-way stop, turning right is starting to back up now. So those are really the two problems. And I think if we can get a civil design done that phase 1 would be solving those two problems, which is the left turn going south and the right turn when you're going north onto the freeway. I think we could design that as a first phase, and that should be relatively affordable compared to phase 2, which would be the long-term solution, which would be, I will admit, it would be expensive. But I think that's just a reality of what we're talking about here. I think that that just needs to be designed one way or the other. I think it is a big deal that we're offering to pay for it. The other thing I would say is if we can get phase one design that would fix this intersection for, let's say, the next 10 to 15 years, if we can get that design and actually know what we're talking about, I would say as long as Payson adopts a transportation impact fee so that you're going to have money coming in, we could look at trying to figure out how to partner with the city to pay for that. And we would just, it's no different than any other investment. We would look at what's it going to cost, how long is it going to take. We would just want to make sure there's a way for us to get paid back. Right now, we meet with Travis and Jonathan. They're pretty transparent in saying the city's not collecting any money, so we can't pay you back. And so I know it's not directly answering your question, but that's our solution.
That's a start. Let's hear what Robert has to say, because he sounds like he has something to say.
I didn't even know you were here.
I sat back there and I'm like, I'm not going to say anything. But I love coming to Planning Commission because it reminds me what my roots are. And that's the fact that I'm a planner at heart. And I think your question, Commissioner Beecher, is kind of at the heart of what Commissioner Frisbee was talking about, is what truly is the benefit here.
Right.
I think both questions are really, really admirable and really important. My answer or my opinion that I would just offer as a planner is the fact that cities are living, breathing organisms. They have to grow in order to thrive and live. And one of the things that cities need that we cannot provide for ourselves is housing. We do not build. And that's one thing that we just don't do as a city. Nope. We don't go out and build houses, and we don't go out and build places for our residents to remain or to come back to or to start their lives and their livelihoods. And so that's why we have to partner with the development community in order to do that. I think in this case, you have a willing partner that is offering some solutions on how to provide housing for kids and for future generations and for maybe some existing people that want to move back here. And that's important. Those people will probably be part of our community that can have jobs here and spend money here. And those are important factors in how cities grow, thrive, and continue on. I think that the fact that there's a situation that we already know is bad. The traffic in this area is suboptimal. I'll put it that way. And sometimes you have to have a catalyst to make it better. And we have some plans in place that help that. We're talking about some plans in place that could maybe push the threshold a little bit to get some additional attention of improving 800 South, the interchange, the improvements that need to happen there to make this better. I think it's just important to remember that everything's a partnership. And I don't think that we're necessarily asking Payson City residents to particularly pay for the development itself, but we do participate. We participate with all of our development community. We provide services to those communities, and they provide future income to our city. And we want to make sure that their livability is good. And so I think those are the really important questions to ask. Is there a way that we can make things more livable as we move forward with some of these decisions that you have to make, and just kind of keep that at top of mind? So I'll get off my soapbox now.
So is sewer water got to be run out there? Is it got to be offside of sewer water, storm drain, all that
Yeah,
other
so
good
they're
stuff?
running all the utilities, and we've already discussed if there's, I think we are upsizing a couple of them, and they're building what they're required, and we're paying for the price change, for example, from an 8-inch to a 12-inch pipe.
Right.
And that's something we do all the time.
And I totally understand
Yeah.
that.
And so but yeah, everything's got to be run. I mean, it's got to be extended, and this is just one step in the process. I did also want to bring up that Red Bridge did finally get their Army Corps stuff sorted. So and they have their permit, so they can extend 1950 West now from where it dead ends in front of MTech down to 1130 South. And then,
Which would be great to have
right, and
two
then
southern routes.
Whitehorse is essentially building 1950 West all the way to Taylor Ranch because, I mean, they own most of the property. They own the entire
Does
road
that take
corridor.
it to 12,400 or 12,000 or whatever that is? Does that take it all the way to there?
It does, yeah. And so, I mean, you can see right above the old racetrack there.
Mhm.
I mean, they secured the corridor to to be able to extend that road and the utilities all the way down, and you know, so 1700 West isn't going to be the only route for very much longer. Um, Hopefully, Red Bridge will move on their phase 3 of the PID improvements, which would be finishing that 1950 West extension.
Okay.
And so that gives us the other option for people to turn right at the roundabout and come around 1950 and alleviate 1700.
Yeah. Okay.
So Commissioner Beecher, just to answer your question a little bit more,
Uh-huh.
the transportation impact fee is a good idea in the fact that it's one of
I don't
those things,
disagree
if
with that.
adopted, development pays for development.
Yeah, I don't disagree
It's
with
just
that.
that
I think we
it's
do
not
need a transportation
right.
impact fee.
It's
And-
just the money's
and I'm
not
glad
there
that it's
yet.
coming in on this
Yeah.
as well as it should be in. We should have had it a long time ago, is what it boils down to. So. Okay, that kind of answers my question.
Yeah, Robert did a much better job than I could. I think in all honesty, that's a question that, yeah, that's a city.
It's a tough question.
Yeah.
It's not an easy question to look at. So.
Oh yeah, that,
All the way out to 2,400 West or whatever that is, 5,600 West.
yeah,
What is that?
no, this is probably fine. I think one thing that I would just say, and I know I said it before, but maybe just to emphasize, this is like a lot of numbers. Like these are big numbers with a lot of units. We really do think this will take 10 years. So I know it looks like we're approving this whole thing, right now, but I think this will take a while. The road that we just mentioned, that I just don't know how familiar you guys are with this area, but if you drive there right now, that road, that's a dead end.
It dead ends as you're going west, yes.
Yeah, it's just a dead end road. We put in a temporary access road to help with that for now, but until we get some sort of approval, we're not exactly sure how to. We just can't build that road till we have approval. So,
Right.
that would be I would think a pretty big benefit to the city is a pretty major road that dead ends would now have egress. So. Like the address? Oh.
Number one, I mean, it's further north than this, right? So
It's
No,
like
it's
right
right
below
there.
the Christian, oh, is that it? I was the Christian Life Church is right there. I think they're just south of
Yeah,
that.
right here. It'll come back out onto the frontage road.
Uh-huh.
here. So a lot of the people from this whole development can now get back out on here where they could go up 1950, or they could come over here and jump, the freeway overpass is back over here.
Right.
Back to the other side.
Right.
it doesn't have, it's not a road, it's just a temporary access.
But it would be something around I think it'd probably be around that. 1500 south,
Like-
1700
Like
south,
1550, when you look at
Yeah.
the map and you look on the east side of the freeway, it's south.
about that.
Yeah, it goes
Yeah,
from
it connects
1750
1950 west to 1700 west. connect, no, it connects 1950 west to 1700.
Michael, can we go back to that slide where the staff has recommended what ones that they would feel comfortable with? Just so we can kind of,
So these are the parcels
yeah,
up there. Is that the one you're talking about?
yes, please.
And in your staff report, we shared that with the applicant. That this is kind of a compromise, and it's largely because of Chief Bishop's concerns with the area. And so this is why staff was recommending these parcels here. What is your question?
I just want to see this slide again, just because I appreciate bringing to our attention as far as just the impact fees to be able to help us to bring in some money. And what are the other two cities that don't have it? Just out of curiosity,
So glad I printed that out. I would not be able to remember.
since we're one of three.
Oh, you're good.
Thanks, Tyler.
It's Mapleton and Woodland Hills.
Oh, okay. I've heard of
kind
those two.
neighbors A little bit.
I was
which-
just curious.
I think, as you think, obviously up north, they're more developed. And so I think they've adopted these earlier as they realize development's coming and we need to make it pay for itself. So kind of makes sense. I'm glad you brought this up. We saw this, staff report, I think on Monday or maybe was it Friday? Thursday. Oh, Thursday. Okay. So we saw this on Thursday, and after we saw this, obviously we're requesting to change the whole area here. Staff is saying this is all we're really recommending. I have like kind of another proposal I wanted to talk through, and I know I'm going to butcher this, so I'm glad Michael's here and Jill and Robert, and they can explain this. But right now, all that we're asking for is an amendment to the general plan. And the general plan is not zoning. This is like what's called like a guiding document, but it's not a binding document. So if you guys are to approve everything we're asking for right now, and we went and tried to, go build something on the southern end, we still don't have the rights to build that. What we're trying to do here is get, just generally speaking, is there a way that we could at some point build out what we're asking for here, those concept plans? That's what we're trying to get approved tonight from my perspective. The next step would be zoning. So if we could say that there is a way that it would ever make sense for us to build those plans that we've shown, that's what we're asking. Then to staff's point, the next thing that we're going to ask for is a zone change. And to be honest with you, after talking with Chief Bishop and seeing the staff report, I don't really think it would be appropriate for us to come and immediately rezone all of the land that we own right now for the densities that we're asking for. I really, that is what we were going to do. I don't think that's what we should do anymore. So from my perspective, we'd like to see if we can come to some sort of compromise tonight on what makes sense for this whole area, with the understanding that when we do a zone change, that's when we can kind of look at, okay, right now, based on traffic and the roads and the impact fees and everything, we're comfortable letting this amount of homes move forward. Once we have more visibility into, like, let's say we've got that study designed that shows how we can fix the intersection. I don't know what, and that's, staff can help us with that. But once we get more answers, then I think it would be appropriate for us to come back and say, hey, we've solved a lot of these problems. There's a really clear path forward. We'd like to ask for a zone change on the rest of our property. So that's kind of what I would propose. I don't know if you had any questions on that, or.
So I'm just saying what I'm seeing is based on what were presented to discuss tonight, and then what Chief Bishop and then the staff was recommending that he's comfortable with. That's all that I feel like we could at least approve, is the amended portion of what staff has suggested that we do. Or if we don't have enough consensus out of planning commission to move it that way based on what Chief Bishop said, to just talk some more and bring it back. But I love the designs that have been set forth to just make Payson look more like someplace that I'd want to live if I were looking to buy as a New Yorker, right? Which you can't tell from my Paysonian accent, which I'm losing. But if we go back to New York or Massachusetts, it comes back. So I love that feel to appeal to those who want to come down to this part of the valley and just be a part of, because unless something's changed, the trains are coming down here, which again will attract more people to want to come. So I can go up to Red Iguana and eat and then come back if I want. But I mean, it is giving us a chance to expand and to look more modern for the ones of us who live here that want to look more modern.
So just to comment on your statement, I guess, you are more than welcome to suggest modifications to either the initial proposal, staff's proposal, or suggest something different to proceed to city council for a decision. You're more than welcome to do that. If you do not feel comfortable with that, that is fine as well. You can make your choices of what you feel is most appropriate based off the information you've been provided.
Thank you. But yeah, how do we feel as far as,
Let's get past what we got to do before we start
fair enough?
discussing it internally.
Okay.
Because we've got to, if there's no more questions for staff or the applicant, then we've got to actually open a public hearing. So,
Maybe I'd just make, I think, two more comments. I would just say that it took quite a bit of negotiation and planning to get to this step with staff. You know, one big thing, and I will say we do want to do all of the things that we've outlined, you know, and dedicating a park, paying for the studies, you know, doing what we can to get the impact fees. We want to and are willing and ready to do all those things. Obviously, the reason that we are wanting to do all those things is because of what we're proposing, right? This amendment to the plan. If we were to only get, let's just say, half of what we're asking for here, you know, it's essentially a north half and a south half, that we have to go back and look at, hey, here's all the money that we're going to spend, here's all the land that we're going to dedicate, that, you know. So that's one thing I would say. It's not that we don't want to do everything that was outlined there, but you can kind of see from our perspective, like, this is, we ran all these numbers, this is what we feel like we can do. I did mention to Michael and some of the other staff, after meeting with Chief Bishop and with staff here, we're asking for 15 units per acre right here, and that's what their recommendation is, to approve this part, but not the southern part. We'd be willing to change what we're requesting in this area back down to 10 units, which is, like what staff said, already planned for some of this. So we would be willing to just say, hey, we'll just stick with 10 units on this. To be clear, that is an increase on some parts of this northern portion, but not all of them. If we can change to what we're proposing here to 10 units per acre, and also receive approval for the southern half, that big community that's, you know, a lot of those single family homes, we really want to start building single family homes at the same time. I don't know if you guys have driven out here, but we're already done with the development for our first townhome phase. We've got 50 lots that we're going to start building this winter. We just really think it would be good for the city and us to build not only just townhomes, and Red Bridge is building a lot of apartments, but we want to build some single family homes. So I'll just say that that's kind of a compromise that we've just talking with staff, and, you know, you guys can discuss as well. But anyway, so for what it's worth, that's, I can just say that's something we would be comfortable with. I think, going back to what Robert said, this really is a partnership in a lot of ways. And so we're trying to figure out, how can we start building houses, not getting the cart ahead of the horse. So anyway, you You want me to sit down now for?
It's up to you. If
Okay,
you've
I'm
got
gonna
more to
sit down.
say, you're welcome to say it.
I'm gonna sit down for a minute.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks, Tyler. So no more question for staff or candidate or applicant. I need a motion to open the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to open a public hearing.
In a second,
I'll second that.
all in favor by yes?
Yes.
Yes. Any opposed? Public hearing, we have one member of the public here. Nobody online, Kim? Okay. I need a motion to close.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second.
All in favor by yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Any opposed? Okay. Discussion, commissioners. Who wants to start? Let's get some words from everybody. So. You want to start, Ryan?
Sure.
Mr.
It might be a
Frisbee?
minute, sorry.
Okay.
So,
He looks like he's ready.
I
He's got notes
I
already.
made some
so-
notes, but so just from my own standpoint, look at this is traffic flow is obviously a big issue and there's a lot of things that have to be addressed there. As we're talking about extra density, you know, I talk about extra benefits for residents. Are we talking, and I know at this point in the stage, it's hard to plan it, but are we talking extra amenities, extra open space? What are we giving those future residents in exchange for the extra density? Is there some additional, you know, we've talked about, you know, is there going to be, well, now we're doubling the residents. Are we doubling the amount of open space in that area? How are we providing a benefit for them? So one of my things I have a little bit of concern here is it seems like we are trying to transition to kind of lower density. And now this seems like we go high density, lower density, then back to high density. And then we almost have to transition back out again because the way the original plan is we just kind of keep tapering down to a lower density out on as we expand out of the city. Let's see, timing on this. I mean, that's, like you said, that's a huge question at this point is this the right time to do this? Do we have the ability to get UDOT to cooperate? I mean, where is UDOT's head in this game? Because that makes a huge decision that's unfortunately out of the control of the city. It's out of the control of the developer. And so looking at, hey, what is UDOT going to do and how would that impact this development? And then obviously I see this kind of obviously impacts Whitehorse. You guys would be picking up about 500 out of the additional 900 and something units, which would be expected as your kind of ones bringing that on. But then one of my concerns is, okay, now we're going to have other developers that are going to say, hey, well, they got to almost double the units on their properties. We kind of want to do that same thing over here. And so do we start heading down that road of now we're looking at, instead of 4,500 units, you're looking at 5,500 units or 6,500 units in this area because everybody's saying, hey, well, it got through here. I don't know, like I said, I don't know Michael's staff, you guys can address this in a minute, but if we have any idea on UDOT's timeline or any plans for 8 South, is there any information there? And I don't know if you want to address that now or.
Marty never makes me. 800 South is identified as a phase 1 need, but a phase 2 project.
Funding.
So where does that put that?
That
timeline?
Well, it means
means
there's no money, but
there's no
a
money
need.
right now. There until I think phase 2 starts 2031.
We're
2,
10
3.
years out.
Right, unless we can get our lobbyists to go push for a little bit to, put this a little bit higher on the list, but they have acknowledged, yes, we know it's a problem now and we would love to do something now. Unfortunately, we won't have it for the funding cycle until phase 2. So
Okay.
that's where it's at.
Appreciate the information there. I do appreciate the fact I feel like the applicant is trying to be a good partner, trying to work with stuff. But I will point out too that we have developments happening in other areas of the city where we have developers kind of giving us the same thing. Oh, we're trying to build affordable housing. They're promising, oh, we're going to build these affordable housing units. We're going to put this here and we're going to put that there. And so why this area and why right now? And I don't know that I still have a good positive, why this area, why right now, when we do have these other options in the other areas of the city. I think the current plan in Red Bridge area, this South Meadows area is a good plan. I I think the way it had a lot of time and effort into getting it to where it was. So for me personally, I think at this point, I don't see modifying it or recommend modifying it as being the best way to proceed personally. So.
Thank you. Commissioner Brinkerhoff, do you have anything to say? Turn your mic on.
Come back.
Commissioner Getteboer.
Again, good job on working with the city and trying to come up with a good plan. Appreciate the attention to detail and everything that you've been putting into this. I would like to see, I mean, I know that there's a lot of design and a lot of work that still needs to be done to address the whole problem in the situation out there too. So that's where I kind of feel like hesitant in moving forward until that is addressed. I like the solution that you brought up where leaving the zoning for the most part in that area to get moving on some things out there. And so I would like to dive into that a little bit deeper and see what that looks like. But that's my only comments there.
Commissioner Adams.
Yeah, I feel the same way with that. We're getting quite a bit of people. I mean, you've got your higher density. I understand that towards the college or your school and that. But as we come back from the south, I think we need to stay more residential where you've got your townhouses along the south end down there. I would much rather see that all residential, single family and that. I know you got to make what you need to do, but I'm one of these people that high density is not my thing. I much rather see a single family. The government keeps telling us we've got to have more apartments and stuff. And if I can have my help keeping it so we have more single family, that's where I would put, but I would stay with what you've got initially approved right now. I wouldn't go for the other.
Thank you. Commissioner Hemuling.
Just repeating what I said before, just that I'd only feel comfortable supporting just what Chief Bishop had said. He could see standing behind for right now. I also am concerned that that's a priority too on 800 South. Because that has to be rectified, and that's not necessarily that's not the builder's responsibility to fix that road. But I would love to see this builder come into Payson because I'd love to just see us grow where it makes sense for, like you said, more single family homes and stuff like that. But I'd only be able to at this time support what staff has brought up that Chief Bishop would be comfortable with, since Chief Bishop would have to take care of those things and oversee it as the city grows.
Just to clarify, Chief Bishop's not comfortable with any of it.
So you lied to us, Michael, because you drew some really nice red.
He's not favorable. That in the staff report, he's not favorable to the increase of the development. It was an overall rest of staff saying, well, we feel as if there's some opportunity here, that there's something that can happen. We've worked with the applicant a lot. We feel as if there's opportunity for increased density in this area. We know that growth is coming and we want to do it responsibly, but we also are concerned about traffic, and that's where we wanted to try to say, let's at least do something here.
Okay, so then, yeah, I heard Chief Bishop a lot more thinking that was what he would support. Yeah, I'd only go with what staff recommended, and I am again concerned about transportation, but just however we as a group or the planning commission goes, and that's how I'll vote.
I want to say one more thing. Another thing is for our fire department, how this is going to bottleneck them when they try to come out there also.
They actually have a positive recommendation in that.
Do they? I have to see.
So yes, we addressed that in various staff meetings talking about this area. There is some concern about bringing emergency services over 800 South if there was an emergency, especially during peak times such as morning and evening peak times. But the fire chief did say that that's not a significant concern because you could come down Utah Avenue and then American Way.
There's other routes to get there.
There's other routes to come. And so they didn't feel as if it would be a significant impact to them overall, but there is some potential concern.
Commissioner Brinkerhoff, do you have anything?
I just want to clarify the public hearing and what we're approving today is just the general plan amendment, not necessarily the density? Or did I,
No,
or they go
the
together?
general plan gives guidelines to the density.
Okay,
So just so you know, you're not approving anything. You would just be
Well,
making a
We're making a
recommendation.
recommendation
And,
to the city council.
and it would be just to modify this plan that has, let me get back to the map.
You got too many cutesy things there, Michael.
So this is what they're requesting. You can see the colors and such on here with the tan and the yellow and the dark brown. That's what they're requesting to change from what it originally is with something like this.
That's what it is right now.
And so it wouldn't entitle anything. What it would do is it would allow them to then come into the city for a zone change to change the density for future development. So
okay, thank you.
My biggest concern is the access to this area. I'm actually not uncomfortable with the density change because I'm fine with what the staff thinks is acceptable there. But I am concerned with the transportation. As it stands right now, we have several options. We can, the nuclear one is we can deny it totally and send it back to wherever it goes. We can go with the staff recommendation of the 5 parcels at the 15 units per acre. And that would also be adding the densities would be gross developable land, not that undevelopable land would not be included in the calculations for the area. We can also come up with our own plan that is something different than that, or we can recommend adopting the plan as submitted by the applicant. So now we need a motion.
So again, coming back, you're not denying anything.
No,
But
we're not
you
recommending.
would
We're recommending to the
recommend,
city
you would
council.
recommend denial if that was what your prerogative was, and then this would still proceed to city
City
council with
council.
a negative recommendation.
Right.
So just to clarify.
Yep. Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion that, based off of kind of what we have here, I think the plan we have in place is a good plan, although I think there are some positive things that this plan could provide. I think at the time we have more questions than answers and some things that would have to be resolved before it would be a good decision to move forward. I haven't seen any compelling evidence that would say that increasing the density and changing the plan at this point would be beneficial to the city and the residents. So at this point, I would recommend that we recommend to the city council to deny the plan amendment at this point.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Okay, we'll have a motion and a second. Let's do a roll call vote. Commissioner Hamuli. Second was Commissioner Adams.
Yes.
Commissioner
Yeah.
Adams. Commissioner Gettebor.
Yes.
Commissioner, come on, brain.
Frisbee.
Frisbee.
Yes.
I was thinking Ryan. I thought, no, that's
You
not
can go that
right.
way too.
And Commissioner Brinkerhoff.
Yes,
Commissioner Beecher, I'm going to say no, just because I think that we should give some sort of a recommendation to city council, but that won't matter because everybody else voted against me, so. Okay, that's where it stands. Send it to city council with a negative recommendation.
Is there any direction or feedback you would give to staff and or the applicant as it proceeds to city council?
From my standpoint, and like I said, I know this is really hard this early in the stage of planning, but I would have to see additional plans on either amenities or open space or benefits to those future residents, and to make it just a bigger improvement for the city itself as well. So what additional things would be being offered to make it worth it? And then again, why this place over out by UVU's new campus or out by the hospital and all those developments and stuff? What makes it this area what justifies this area being the one that gets the additional density?
And another thing I would add to that is that I do think it's advantageous for the city to look at a transportation impact fee. Whether it happens with this or whether it happens other places, we need to look at that and maybe incorporate that in.
I'd second that too. I believe so.
So I think there's a way to work through this. I don't know that we have exhausted all the avenues. So
Thank you.
okay. Commission reports, staff reports, training. Let's go staff first. Is there anything staff wants to say to us?
There is the next meeting, we will have a public hearing for another general plan addition that is required by state law for a water element to be added. So stay tuned. That will be a riveting one. The first meeting in November, we will not actually have a meeting because it's going to be the South County training. I always forget. Is it Mapleton?
Yes, it's
So it'll be in Mapleton on that week. I can't remember what day it is.
The 12th is when we would have met next.
So it'll be then instead of a meeting. So we will not have a meeting in November. And that leaves us to having only one meeting in December, because the second one would be on December 24th. So if you want to have a meeting that day, you can be here by yourselves, because I'm not going to be here.
Yeah, you,
But-
no.
I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure
any
the
other
offices
staff-
might be
Yeah,
closed
no.
that night too, so, yeah.
Any other staff comments or, okay, we don't have anything else.
Okay. Commissioners, does anybody have any comments they'd like to make? Okay, I need one final motion.
Perry, have you done that before for this? Rhymes with adjournment? No, mine's.
I move that we make an adjournment and that we're finished for the evening. I guess that's up.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. All in favor by yes.
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 Bob. There was actually there were arrows.
Yeah,
There's
Gettable.
Commissioner Gettable. They seconded it. Thank you for being here. That was, at least we had a good discussion. Oh, we said yes. Yeah. We all said yes. We were making other noises too, but we all said yes. So,